In this video, we're going to look at how we can create some very creative visualizations using pie charts and donut charts. In the first example, Rohan would like to show how in 2017, half the world's emissions came from just 3 countries. And we're going to start by selecting our data. So that's A3 to B7. And we're going to come up to our Insert tab and we're going to choose Pie Chart. I'm just going to go for a 2D pie chart. And the first thing to do is move that over a little bit and resize slightly so it fits nicely under the data. Now while we can take a pretty good guess at these segments, it's useful to have the percentages. And a quick way of adding them is to come up to your chart design ribbon, come to quick layout, and these give you some instant presets. And we're going to go for the first one, layout 1, which gives us both these series labels and the percentages. Now if you want to format these, just click on any one of the labels, they all highlight, and then you can come and make them white, change the size, make them bold if you like. And then we're just going to make one final little tweak here. We're going to turn off our chart title and we're going to replace it with an image. So make sure your chart is still selected, come to Insert, Pictures, and navigate to where your workbooks are and insert the CO2 image. We'll resize that slightly and just pop it into the middle of our chart. And that's a nice way of presenting our data. Now, one thing to take into account is that all of these countries actually have extremely large populations. But one limitation of a pie chart is you can only show a single series. So you can't show the population data on this chart. Fortunately, we have a new type of chart called a donut chart, which is very much like a pie, but it will let us show multiple series. So we're going to copy our pie, so Ctrl C, and click into the cell next door and Ctrl V to paste. We'll get rid of our image for this one, and then we're going to come to our chart design, come to chart type, and we're going to switch that over to a donut chart. So similar concept, but we have a hole in the middle, and we can add multiple series. So coming up to our data, we're going to grab that blue square bottom right corner and just drag across, and we can now see our population as well. Looking a little messy though, so let's do a bit of a cleanup. First thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the labels in the outer ring, and we're just going to switch those off. And then we're going to click on our labels in the inner ring, and we're going to come to our label options. And we're going to switch off the percentage, and we don't need leader lines either. And then if we just select one of the rings, doesn't matter which one, and come to Format Data Series, you'll see you can actually change the hole size. We can make that 25%. And that gives us a little bit more breathing space. So looking pretty good, but I'd like to make the outer ring look slightly different. And one way we can do this is by adjusting the colors slightly. So I'm going to click again into one of the segments. So just that one segment is selected. Come to my Format Data Point label, and I'm going to set that to solid fill. Now that may change the color, so we're just going to set that back to our light green. And then we're going to change our transparency to 35%. So it's still the same shade, but it's just a little bit lighter. Then we're going to do that for our darker green as well. But if you use your F4 keyboard shortcut, you see as a slightly quicker way of applying the changes and then just switch it over to dark green. Click on your yellow F4, like that yellow, and then the same with the orange, F4, and set that to orange. Now the only sort of downside is it's not that easy to label the actual rings themselves. You can use category labels, but an easier way is just to use text boxes. So I've got them pre-prepared over here, and I'm going to copy, click into my chart, and paste them. And then just move that somewhere into the outer ring. And then I'll do the same with the emissions, copy, click in my chart, Ctrl V to paste, and pop that into the inner ring. And the reason we copy pasted rather than just dragging them is when I move the chart, you'll see the text boxes move with it. So that's one way where we could represent two sets of data, but in a pie format. I'll leave you to decide if that's the most effective option. But the reason I wanted to introduce you to this multiple ring option is it does open up a lot of creative options for creating really effective visualizations, and the next one we're going to look at is called a tracker. Now I've actually pre-prepared a tracker over here. So I'm just going to click on that shape and delete it. So this tracker is showing us that there's been a 22% improvement in energy efficiency for the USA from 2005 to 2015. And to prepare this data, Rowan has calculated the improvement and then he's calculated the offset. How much it hasn't improved by just taking 1 minus the improvement. And these are the values we're going to use in our tracker, and we can now build a tracker for China. Now the first thing we're going to do is build a series that forms this little grey backdrop, if you like. And if you scroll across to column S, you'll see we actually have 61s that I prepared earlier. That's all they are in that column, and we're going to select them. So click S2, Control Shift down arrow, and we're going to come to our insert, come to our charts, choose pie, and then select the donut chart. And we're going to need to move this up a little bit. Okay. Now the first thing we're going to need to do is turn off our title and our legend. So let's get rid of both of those. And then we can resize that so it fits nicely in the space above the other tracker. Okay, now clicking into our series, we're going to change our whole size again. This time going to set it to 50%. And then we're going to come to our fill color and we're going to say solid fill, and we're going to set the whole thing to a pale gray. So that's created the backdrop. Now to add the improvement, we're going to add another series. So we're going to come to select data. We're going to click add. Our series name is going to be our selected region. And our series values are going to be our improvement and our offset. And then we're going to say OK and OK again. The problem is it's showing as concentric rings, but we know how to solve this problem from the last video. Clicking on one of the rings, we're going to come to change chart type, and then we're going to put that on a secondary axis, and we're going to say OK. And that overlays the first series with the second series. And now just a couple of little tweaks. Click once and then twice on your percentage improvement and turn on your data labels. I think we'll make those white as well. And then click on your offset once and twice to make sure it's selected. Come to your fill options and set that to no fill. Finally, to get our chart title, we're going to use a text box again. So I'm just going to say insert, come to shapes, choose a text box, a nice text box to go in here. And then we're going to come into our formula bar, type equals, and click on our region name. And then press enter. And then probably a good idea just to set that vertically and horizontally. And maybe just adjust the size slightly down to a 9. And now we can straight away see that the energy improvement for China was 54%. Not only that, but these trackers are completely dynamic. So if I come and change my year, for example, to 2007, you'll see it adjust. And if I change my location to Cyprus, that also adjusts. So really effective visualizations, a nice creative way of presenting your data.